Okay, and it's 5 p.m. on a Thursday evening. Good evening, and welcome to today's edition of Opposing Views right here on MX24 Television. My name is Kwabna Chenche Boateng, and I'm grateful that you've taken time off to join us for this all-important show today, because today we have the government on our radar. Agenda 111, it has been something that has been trending in the past, say 48 hours or 72 hours even. The government of Ghana has promised to build a number of hospital facilities on the back of all the things that happened and how our health facilities were stretched when COVID was at its peak. Government is suggesting that, well, we do not have to wait for such a thing to happen again, for our health facilities to be exposed in such a manner. And so we are committing a lot more resources to putting up a number of health facilities, 111. Agenda 111, it says. It has come with its own issues, with the minority in parliament, for instance, suggesting, listen, hey, you are just waking up one day and suggesting you want to build 111 hospitals or health facilities. How is that even possible? Where is the money? You have even come to parliament with a supplementary budget and the like. We have not seen any such thing in the budget. So where are you going to find that money? Okay. The government has also given its suggestions and the firm assurance to Ghanaians that they are going to find ways of raising that money. Today, we ask a simple question: whether or not Agenda 111 remains the best response to tackle any future pandemic. Be my guests and join us. We'll put out the phone line soon enough, and then you can also join us with your views on what you make of the topic. But just before we delve into that particular one, a bit of an update as far as the issue of the university teachers who have been on strike for the past 2 weeks is concerned. What we are told now is that, well, the National Labour Commission has taken the issue out of court. You remember last Tuesday when we had the show and we spoke to the General Secretary for the University Teachers. He had mentioned to us that, well, they are in talks with government and indeed the National Labour Commission for the issue to be taken out of court. In fact, the judge had actually directed that the issue be taken out of court so that there can be an amicable solution at that point also. And so that has happened. The update is that the lecturers are willing to call off the strike. Take note, they have not called off the strike. They are willing to call off the strike. So the first gesture is for them now to go sit at the round table. And as I speak to you right now, they are in a meeting with the NLC and officials of the Education Ministry just to try and see if they can reach a compromise. We are following this rather keenly. We'll bring you the very latest as and when we have it. But we'll get a quick reaction from some of the students whom we spoke to some time back. That was 2 days ago, by the way. And they had expressed a lot of resentment towards government over how this whole thing has been handled. So quickly joining us now via Zoom is Benin Clinton Bafo. He's the SRC president for the University of Ghana City Campus. Bafo, good evening. Thanks for joining us on Opposing Views.
Good evening, and thank you very much for
right. But for this must be amazing news for you and your colleagues, hearing that, well, the teachers have made a bit of a shift in their position from we are not going to do anything until government comes with something we want to, well, we are willing to negotiate and try and see if we can, you know, get back to the classrooms and get our students what they need. What are the sentiments you are picking from your colleagues now?
All right. So thank you very much. Very good evening to all students out there once again.
Right.
I think it's actually good news to the students and equally a bad news because it came as unexpected, because most students were thinking there would be an extension to the strike at the end of the day. It would lead directly from the government, giving us the opportunity to go home and rest, because that's what most of the students were expecting. Nonetheless, it's been it has come with much excitement, because those of us in school, we were hoping to know the way forward so that students can plan their activities and ways ahead of time to make sure that they are not caught up unexpectedly. So now that we've gotten a positive response from the government and UTAC, we are hoping that their negotiation that is currently going on will be fruitful, so that we can possibly return back to academic work and then recap from where we left and be able to catch up. I think that's so far the opinions that are coming from most of the students. They actually want to know what is next and what they should do. It was to our surprise that we saw a fake news out there that UTAG had called off the strike, only to find out it was actually not coming from their end. Nonetheless, they are waiting to know the possible outcome from the meeting that is currently going on. I think for now that is what I can say.
Let me ask this though. I think it will be a final one though. Should the outcome of this meeting today, right now as we speak, be conclusive enough? Are students willing and able to return to the classroom, say as early as tomorrow morning 7 a.m. to try and catch up on lost time?
Well, I think that would be that wouldn't be favorable to the side of the students. But we believe if they are able to settle up on issues regarding the disagreements they had earlier, I think it would be prudent that the management of the various institutions do re-inform students on the revised calendar for the academic year. Particularly with the University of Ghana, we run a modular session. So in this instance, every activity was put on hold, expecting management to respond back to us when everything is right. So giving us an information that tomorrow we should return back to the classrooms would be much of an unexpected information to us, because most students have gone home because they were left in a state of dilemma. They didn't know what they should do, and they had no other opportunity or no other thing to do on campus than to go home. So if they arrive at a possible conclusion on this particular issue, it would be prudent that management revise the calendar such that they wouldn't equally put students at a tight corner, because we would have to recap, fast forward what we have lost behind. I'm sure management would definitely do the needful by revising the calendar to make it a favorable one, devoid of the challenges that has come within this particular short period.
Okay, all right. Bafo, many thanks for your time today on Opposing Views. And Benin Clinton Bafo is the Student Representative Council President for the University of Ghana City Campus. You heard him there give us those views as far as their anticipation of the tango between the government and university teachers are concerned. Well, the students are rather hopeful that there will be a compromise soon enough so that things can return to normal and students can return to the classrooms or perhaps the exam halls, finish with their courses for the semester, and then life can go on for everybody. Okay, we just needed to give you an update on that. So now that we have done that, let's delve into the main issue for the day. And the critical question on the table today, like I mentioned, is this: is Agenda 111 the best response to tackle any future pandemic? Ponder over it. We'll be back shortly.
The news that matters the most is the news that hits closest to home. Politics, business, lifestyle, entertainment, whatever. Once it breaks, we are there.
If it touches you, your family, your community, or your safety, we've got it covered. You need to know what is happening in and around Ghana and on the international scene.
This is MX24 News.
Go on, my people. Welcome to XCave. A boy's body count and a girl's body count matter differently.
Wow. Probably an experience, something that happened.
Is it a deal breaker in a relationship?
No.
The XCave, and this show focuses on topics that are hot on the lips of our young people and presents it in an open, honest conversation.
Oh, look at him, he's crying, he's such a girl.
In other words, there are no liars on our show.
The man is the head of the home. The man is, quote unquote, the breadwinner.
We come here with the truth.
We talk of something being toxic. It's something which is harmful or unpleasant.
Stay glued to the television for the hottest show on TV.
All right, many thanks for staying with us. This is Opposing Views. We are transmitting live from our studio here at the Silicon Square, this Legon in Accra, and my name is Kwabena Chenche Hene-Boateng. Today, like I said, we are talking about Agenda 111 and whether or not it is the panacea to solving a future pandemic should that happen. And we've been privileged enough to have some very important guests join us for today's discussion. Let's start with the panel for today. And Dr. Aboagye Da Costa is the Director of Health Promotions at the Ghana Health Service. He's been gracious enough to spare us a few minutes today. Also, Professor Akwesi Osei is the Chief Executive Officer for the Mental Health Authority. He's also joining us for this conversation, as well as Bright Emi Senyako, National Chairman for the Coalition of NGOs in Health. Also, Dr. Justice Youngson is the General Secretary for the Ghana Medical Association. He will also be joining us in a brief while. And then we'll take a rather interesting twist to the entire conversation by getting the views of the Chief Executive Officer for the Ghana Chamber of Construction Industries, Emmanuel Sherry. Gentlemen, good evening, and many thanks for joining us on Opposing Views this evening.
Good evening. Good evening.
Great to have you all. I would like to start with Dr. Da Costa. Doc, you've been at the forefront of all of this. You've you've had to be in there addressing the crowd, speaking on a number of issues at a rather critical time when a lot of people were in fear. Some were upset. Some were, saying all kinds of things to and about government over one thing or the other, particularly when COVID was at its peak. Now, though, we appear to have done quite well with a few things, but the key question remains this. A lot of people have suggested that, well, COVID has exposed the lapses in our health. And is it the case that really we have such huge gaps in our health, on our health front, to the extent that, well, COVID actually exposed all of this? Or perhaps people may be exaggerating the nature of all of this, because if I go to the UGMC or I go to Kolebu or the Confanochi Teaching Hospital, I do see some really, really good facilities there, and a number of people trooping in there for healthcare. What was really the case?
Okay, so thank you so much.
Right.
I think let me take the opportunity to greet your viewers.
Right.
What we should know is that, for any country to succeed, you have to obviously focus on certain things. Critical of those things are education and health. So I am so happy that at this point, the government of Ghana, obviously has decided to bring healthcare to the doorstep of its population in the various districts and communities. Now, there are a couple of lessons that we have to take away from COVID, even though we are still in the pandemic, but there are a couple of obviously lessons. It shouldn't be the case that the next pandemic will happen and we lack those facilities, or the lessons have actually not been put into practice. I remember at one of the COVID meetings, there was the case that facilities were full, and obviously people were struggling in their various homes. There were shortage of beds and others. Then the chairman at the time, which was His Excellency, he's still the chairman, His Excellency said that he asked the Ghana Health Service, so is it the case that we do not have health care, obviously district without health facilities? Then he asked the Ghana Health Service and the Ministry of Health to do an assessment to come up with all the districts in the country without health facilities. So we did the assessment and we submitted it. So when we submitted it, I think there were 88 districts without hospitals,
right,
or district hospitals. Then he decided that I think it is really crucial that we obviously have these facilities for populations living in those districts. Now, bear in mind, when you have healthcare closer to you. Access is easy. Imagining a pregnant woman from, let's say, one of these districts having to travel to a very far place before they are able to get access to just maternal health. I mean, I think to me it is the way to go, and I think the government is spot on this hospitals that they want to build.
Okay.
We also have some new regions, about 6 of them. They do not have regional hospitals, and I mean, per the plan, they are going to have these hospitals, regional hospitals in those places. Then I'm also told that there are 2 psychiatric hospitals, specialized hospitals, where the northern belt will also have these psychiatric facility. So I think it is. I think it's the right decision that has been made by the government.
Let me ask this though. These hospitals or these facilities that are to be put, are they new facilities, totally new, and we have to build them from ground up?
Yes, they are new. From my understanding, they are new facilities. I think they are 100-bed capacity hospitals.
Okay.
And now what they've done is that they've thought through carefully. So they've planned it in such a way that they will have to complete it between 12 to 18 months on commencement of each of them. So I think that is where we have to, I mean, people should understand. So for example, if we are commencing 8 of them now, it is expected that between 12 to 18 months, it will be completed. So it is on commencement of it between 12 to 18 months. Now, the infrastructure, we are told that will take 12 months. Then the 4 months, the remaining months to the 18 months will obviously be where they will be fitted with the equipment and all the other things that will be needed for the hospitals to be functional.
Right.
So I think it is good. Let all Ghanaians support this, and I think it will increase universal health coverage for all. Okay.
So 2 questions though before I move to my other guest. But Doc, let's start with the issue about how we are building all of these from the ground up. There have been concerns about abandoned projects in previous administrations, a number of them in localities which require some of these health facilities. Is it the case that all of these hospitals or health centers do not fit the criteria for district hospitals, and so we cannot use them or we cannot complete such projects? Because I hear you loud and clear when you say it's about making the healthcare system expansive enough so that people from all walks of life can have access to it in their localities. Some of these facilities were being put up. For some reason, those projects have been stalled. Why are we not channeling a lot more resources and effort into these ones and now thinking of 111 new facilities? Why? Is it because of somebody's legacy or something?
Okay, so thank you. So let me take time to explain this because it's very important. Right. The Ministry of Health when the assessment was being made, those facilities were taken into consideration. So, I mean, those supposedly abandoned projects that they are talking about were taken into consideration. So, for example, those districts without the hospitals, I mean, obviously, they do need these hospitals. And as you heard the Ministry of Health yesterday, they were emphatic on the fact that these hospitals are on their radar, and work has actually started or is ongoing or is to be started. You see, and each of these facilities, I'm talking about the supposed abandoned projects, do have their funding streams. So you cannot take funds from one hospital and use it for the others if it's not purpose for that. So let Ghanaians be assured that, as expressed by the health minister, no project will be abandoned. And all the projects that government, government is doing will certainly be done, paying the schedule as it is. So I don't think there's any problem.
So you raised the point of funding streams for some of these projects, for which reason some of them may have stalled because maybe the funding is no longer coming. Again, it will still not be out of place to work out other financial arrangements to get these completed. Because again, some are say 40% complete, some 60, some 80. Correct?
Yeah. But if the work is ongoing and government, do have funds from those financiers, then it means the commitment should be in other areas rather than the supposedly abandoned one that people are talking about. But I don't think any project has been abandoned anyway. So let's put that into perspective. So those projects will still go on. And like I'm saying, all those projects were taken into consideration, and it still emerged that there are still, even when all those projects were completed or were to be completed, there will still be districts without health facilities. So those are the places that we are talking about. So all those plans were taken into consideration on the assessment. So I don't think Ghanaians should panic. For me, I think the good thing is that we should support this for it to actually work. And we will obviously judge the government on after the 12 to 18 months on commencement of it and see. Because at the end of the day, when the hospitals are in place, we normally talk about no bed syndrome. Don't you think that this will be one of the good solutions to the no bed syndrome? Don't you think that obviously pregnant women traveling far will obviously get easy access to facilities closer to them? Don't you think that it will improve, it will create jobs in those local communities? You see, so all these things are good. So me, from where I sit, I think it is a very good decision that the government actually has made, and we should all support it. And we should take politics out of this and see how best we can support them to achieve what is expected of them. And at the end of the day, when such communities are benefiting, they will be the people to tell the various stories that will be coming out.
Okay, so we'll be taking some comments from our co-panelists in a brief while. Brother Misanyako, for instance, is with the Coalition of NGOs in Health. We'll be taking a few comments from him. But, Doc, one last question before we go to him. Again, there has been the concern of, people have raised issues with the fact that even as we speak, the doctor-to-patient ratio remains quite problematic. Why are we not perhaps also focusing on maybe some other training facilities for a lot more doctors and nurses and some other health professionals, seeing that there's also a huge deficit in that area? Because I remember a couple of reports, I personally even worked on with quite a few international partners, and it came to the fore that there were facilities which were complete, some which even had a lot of equipment in there, but they did not have people to man them. What's the plan for that?
I certainly disagree with that. Let me be honest with you. We have enough professionals coming out, even some without jobs. See, when I remember in 2016, before the government took over, there were people who had been in the house for about 5 to 6 years without any employment. And it was between that 2006 to 2019 or that thereabout that those staff were absorbed. So I believe that, obviously, if these facilities are in there, we will certainly get more.
You know, a number of doctors and health and nurses who pass out don't even want to be posted to some of these rather remote areas where perhaps there may be some of these.
So there is a solution for that.
Okay.
If you look at the Ghana Health Service, if you look at the ministry's portal, the one that was introduced some few years back, it was actually to make sure that people are posted to places where, so that, I mean, places that they will accept the posting, and if you do not accept them, it is at your own peril. So those ones are being addressed, but bear in mind that obviously there is more work to be done on that area, which I do agree. But the fact is, a lot has also gone in there to improve the patient to doctor ratio, the patient to nurse ratio, the patient to pharmacist ratio, and also look at the other staff, other auxiliaries health work, non-health workers who will be working in those facilities, like accountants, like others, apart from the allied health professionals. So I think we are looking at it holistically from obviously a broader perspective, rather than just a narrow perspective that is only health workers that are going to be employed in those facilities.
All right.
Look at it holistically. Yes.
Okay. Doc, thank you. Let's hear from Bright, though. Bright is the national chairman for the Coalition of NGOs in Health. Bright, you've heard Dr. Aboagye Da Costa iterate a number of things. He seems to make a rather cogent argument on a number of fronts. Are you guys convinced that perhaps this may be the best way forward?
Thank you very much, my brother, and good evening to Dr. Aboagye Da Costa and the other panelists, and good evening to your viewers and listeners as well.
Right.
For us, Coalition, we have praised government for this very laudable, bold initiative. However, we were of the view that we could have started slowly, because it's too ambitious to start all at a time and then get it completed in the 12 to 18 months time. I hear Doc say today it's about the commencement date. So I'm getting the feeling that if the project commences probably in 2 years' time, then we start counting 12 months or 18 months for it. If the argument has been that initially, I believe a lot of people wouldn't have shifted the post till now. So it is, to us, we welcome it as a very good intervention for the health sector, and especially for Ghana Health Service, because this gap has been there for quite a long time. But we are also of the view that it is too ambitious, and then the time frame for its achievement it's actually not going to be feasible or possible. So we are concerned about when this project will be completed and functional. We are concerned about the sources of funding for the project, and then we see it to be actually too ambitious. So to us, it is not something we should say it can happen. We thank the president that he dreamt about it. The health service, together with the ministry, took a bold initiative, and then he said, look, we are going to do it. That alone, we call for a lot of blessings for that, but demonstrate more on how this can be done, how it can be achieved, then we all embrace and then move it forward. It's too way low how government is directing on how funding issues are going to be amidst the COVID issues and a whole lot of projects that government is working on in other sectors. So we are still asking questions. We are actually still asking questions for government to tell us where the funding source is.
The funding sources.
We know he said the funding is coming from government, but that is not just enough to say government. How are we going to raise the money? From which angles within government?
I think with that, government has already come out to suggest that some $100 million or so has already been secured from the GIIF, and so perhaps that bit of it may have been clarified, except that the 100 million may not be enough to put up so many facilities. I think per their calculation, it should be about 7 or 8 hospitals. As to how the remaining funding comes in, we are not very sure. But maybe Doc can help us with that subsequently. Go ahead.
So Watson is the same argument. We've been able to raise some $100 million now.
Right.
Now, as we speak, Dr. Aboagye Da Costa will agree with me that we have now secured 8 sites for these projects, with an outstanding 23 sites for the other projects. that 23 sites to be secured alone is going to take a lot of time. So you can't be convinced to say that within the record time of 18 months, all 111 projects will be completed and functional. And when we are talking about functionality of a facility, he knows much better that we are talking about fully furnished hospital and then operational with personnel and other stuff inside. And are we saying that within 18 months, counting from yesterday, where the president cuts the sword, the facility at that district where the president cuts the sword is going to be completed and functional? Yes, that is possible. Where he cuts the sword yesterday can be completed and functional within 18 months, but not all 108. That is the argument on board now. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Thank you. That was by Temi Sanyako. He's the national chairman for the Coalition of NGOs in Health. Let's hear from Dr. Anaba. He also has some interesting views to share as far as this is concerned. He's the former medical director at the Greater Accra Regional Hospital, Ridge Hospital. Doc, good evening. Thanks for joining us. And so we have heard government make a lot of points. Today, Dr. Boaji Da Costa has clarified a number of them and has given us a lot more insight as to why we even need such a thing at this time. Your thoughts, sir?
Thank you very much for having me. Good evening to Dr. Da Costa, Mr. Denis Sanyako, and your cherished listeners. My view is that I am very happy anytime I hear any government make pronouncements that are positive towards improving the health delivery system of Ghana, because health and education, I always say, are the key ingredients in our livelihood to keep us alive, to keep us thinking, to make us sociable in the society. If you have no health, you can't socialize. If you have no education, you can't socialize well. So hearing the Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and his government say that they are going to build 111 hospitals, I was very glad. However, I think that that ambition is too much to believe, and there are several challenges surrounding it that I think that if they had strategized it properly, we would have been more happy with them than now. To start with, I would like to say the general public, including myself, just like the spokesperson for Tumpo said, have some belief that it is not achievable because of historic records. Because if you check the manifesto of NPP since 2012, they have always said that they will build all hospitals for all districts without hospitals. 2012, 2016, 2020, it's been there. And nothing has happened. And they are about, at least they are in their second year, their first year in their second term. When it came to coronavirus time, the president, the minister for health experienced the need for hospitals after he slept in Legon, as well as the finance minister experienced the need for health investment when he went to US for treatment. Pronouncements were made, and the president was categorical that he is going to build in 1 year 88 hospitals and 3 research centers. So far, the foundation that the sword cutting he did reference that we've not seen any block laid on concrete. So I tend to say that.
Doc,
yes,
will it be fair to suggest that, well, they haven't done much, particularly when we all know the impact of COVID and a few other things that may have bedeviled this government as it took office? Of course, some would say it's better late than never. Yes, they promised something, they couldn't deliver based on a few things that may have happened in due course. Now they are saying we can do it, and we are doing it with this commitment of $100 million. Surely, we should cut them some slack, or?
One, we had COVID when they made the first announcement to build 88. We still have COVID. And they are now announcing 111. Besides that, before COVID, our economy was better. If before COVID, our economy was better, it has tracked the country and we are not finding it easy to navigate around except borrowing. How are they going to build 111 hospitals across the country? Besides doubting them about their capability of building these 111 health facilities, there's one other issue. The trajectory or the history of NPP in investing in health and improving the health sector has not been that positive in their image. One, we have a hospital that was built with government's money to establish health tourism and have the first quaternary hospital in West Africa called Legon Medical Center. This government, Dr. Da Costa will bear with me, has not been able to operationalize it to the fullest up till now. Not because of anything, because of the needed human resource. Even though I have records that hospital was built alongside a human resource strategic plan where people were sent abroad to be trained to come back to man that hospital. Some of the people who went out for the training have not been posted to that hospital by this government. After it had taken the hospital from the university and giving it to a different group of people to man. It means that there is a hospital that is standing without the needed human resource to run. Another hospital to mention is Bank of Ghana Hospital. That is being underutilized. It's just recently they commissioned it. And it is underworking and it's understaffed. They don't have the needed human resource to run it. We have the Aferi government hospitals that is almost 90% complete. That they came into power and never completed it, even though they promised to build every district hospital. Aferi, have they got a district hospital? Why didn't they complete it? Another hospital is Bolgatanga District Regional Hospital that was expanded to take care of people in Upper East and to help in training medical schools from the UBS. They came and never did anything, but rather locked down that hospital. Up to today, air conditions are breaking down and falling from the roof. All these are indications to show that their desire to help the health sector cannot just come up because of 111 hospitals. Let's put that aside and now come to the cost involved and the significance and whether it's viable. The money for 101 health facilities will be about $1.something billion. So far, they are talking of having secured $100 million. That is willful. That is not enough to build 50 hospitals.
Per their projection, they will spend about $17 million on each of the hospitals, and that is quite okay. You are projecting a bit of $1 billion per hospital.
Okay. I will not say it's okay because there's some serious discrepancy. When President broke a cut sword for the building of the Shama Hospital, 100 beds, he said they needed 34 million euros, equivalent to $41 million for 100-bed hospital. What has happened this time?
But a lot more will go into all of this, depending on the location, the availability of land, the resources that may be needed, and the like. So this may be an average figure, but clearly it won't be the same across board. But of course, Dr. Da Costa may be able to give us a bit more clarity subsequently. So do go on. I'm sure he's highlighting all the concerns you are raising. I've highlighted a few here myself. So kindly, if you can, land so that I can get him to respond to some of the concerns that have been raised so far.
That is the clarification we want.
Right. Okay.
Right. Mr. Emisa said is that the needed human resource to man these hospitals is not something small. And I beg to differ with Dr. Da Costa. Don't build a hospital ring-fencing it around non-medical staff numbers, or else you are going to run a supermarket.
Okay.
We don't need administrators to run. We need doctors, nurses, health professionals. And if you go to the Medical and Dental Council and Ghana Health Service Human Resource Directorate, they don't have the needed human resource for these hospitals. If they have, they should let us know.
Okay, all right.
So we're building hospitals to be standing as phantom hospitals without the needed human resource to operationalize them. We have so many managers in Ghana. We have so many management schools in Ghana, but we don't have enough medical schools in Ghana to produce those doctors, nurses, laboratory technologists, and the rest. Okay. So he should He should build the hospitals around health workers, not health administrators.
Okay, that's fine. I think the point he made with that is that you don't just run such a facility with just health professionals. There are other people like accountants and administrators and the like who also come to the fore. And so I think all he was saying was, let's not limit it to just the health professionals. There are others who play equally vital roles when it comes to the management of some of these facilities. But points well noted. We'll be going to Dr. Da Costa in a short while. Let me also let you know that Emmanuel Cherry is the CEO for the Ghana Chamber of Construction Industries. He's joining us in a short while with some views also. But first, let's hear from Dr. Da Costa. Doc, we are getting a number of reactions based on all of the things that have happened in the past few hours. One of the concerns that have been raised right here on this show has had to do with the funding of these facilities. Of course, we've made mention of the $100 million from the GIIF, but beyond that, what else? Because again, this can only give us just about 7 or 8 facilities. Then what? And then also there have been concerns about the failed promises as to all the several things the government suggested it would do, how it failed to deliver on each and every one of them as far as health is concerned, and how we should, for instance, have any guarantee whatsoever that this time around, whatever the government is promising will actually materialize. Of course, there are a few more things that have been highlighted by Dr. Anaba, which I'm sure you've already taken note of. So, Doc, let's hear you.
Okay, thank you. So I think it's good you clarified the fact that I never said that we needed administrators and all those people to run the hospital, but I said that we needed them as supplementary. Now, the fact is, you remember yesterday at the press conference, the Honorable Minister of Information was emphatic that the Ministry of Finance will come out with the details of the funding. And I mean, it was asked, this question was obviously asked Dr. Nsiah, and he said that it is government. And obviously I agree with him because all projects under this thing is government. But let's wait for the Minister of Finance or the Ministry of Finance to detail all the, the source of funding for the project, so that, that matter will also be put to rest. But I know that it will not be long that the Ministry of Finance, anyway, they are mandated to do that. So let's not worry too much. Now, the vision of the president is to build 101 hospitals, including regional hospitals, specialized hospitals like psychiatric and others. For me, I give my full backing to it. And I believe that we those in the health sector, leading Ghana's health sector now, we are so excited and we are with the president. Like I said, this idea was also conceived from some of the COVID meetings that we have. So I support it fully. But let me also say that, you see, I don't want this conversation to take a political twist. You see, when Dr. Anaba was speaking, you could see the political angle, so many things. We are professionals. Let's put it into perspective. I'm not analyzing it from a political point of view. I'm analyzing it from a professional point of view. I talked about access. I talked about job creation. You see, and I talked about the fact that those hospitals that they are supposedly saying that they are abandoned, they have different funding streams. And we heard the Minister of Health yesterday saying that those projects have actually not been abandoned. They are work in progress, and we should hold him accountable for that. And he also went ahead to show some of the projects that were inherited by the government as of 2016. And when I talked about government, it is not political. So he talked about some of the projects that were inherited by the government and some of those hospitals that have actually been completed. So you see, the fact is, I would be happy if all those hospitals that Dr. Anaba talked about, including the 111, is obviously, all these hospitals are completed. And we do have Ghanaian nurses and doctors and obviously working there. And people obviously having access to, people living in those communities having access to hospital services within, in terms of proximity. Now, let me say this. You see, he was talking about the training institutions. You see, to be honest with you, I believe that even I was looking at the education, obviously the infrastructure within the educational sector, and you could see that between 2016 to 2020, the government took it upon itself to expand infrastructure within the various institutions so that intake will be more. So I think that, yes, obviously, governance is a process. So this idea has been conceived of the fact that, no, people are actually, obviously, based on what happened or what is happening within the pandemic, we have a lot of people who actually needed beds, they were not getting. And even every year, we talked about no bed syndrome. Every year, we talked about no bed syndrome. So I believe that some of those, obviously, problems can be solved by these district hospitals. And I'm saying that if you are living around a place that has been conceived to be having these hospitals, you will actually be very happy. And you only, obviously, you only just have to wait for it to be completed for you to see the excitement of the people. I'm just presupposing the presupposed excitement of the people that will follow.
Doc, agreed.
But the fact is,
agreed. But Doc, the critical question, I hear you when you say you do not want the whole conversation to be political, but there are genuine concerns being raised across the aisle. It's not just from a particular section. One of such is the issue of cost. We've just heard our colleague from the NGOs in health. Now, anytime this issue of costs of funding comes to the fore, some way, somehow, is deflected. So at the press conference, then they say the Ghana Health Service has more info. The Ghana Health Service will say, oh, well, government has more info. Government will say, well, sorry. Then government will say, sorry, let me land. Let me land. Then government will say, well, the Minister of Health will come with some additional information. But at the time of commencement, is it the case that we do not know where the money is coming from? So we are now going to sit and plan and strategize, or what? Why, if we have it, why are we holding on to the information?
No. Let's get this clear. Right. Like I said, I listened to the press conference that was held to brief the Ghanaian people yesterday, and it was only yesterday. The Minister of Information was emphatic that they will bring the Finance Minister to come to the podium to detail the cost and where the monies will be coming from. You see, like I'm saying,
I hear you loud and clear. All I'm saying is, just as we were able to say that we already have $100 million from GIIF, wouldn't it have been okay for us to give people a fair idea where the additional funds will be coming from?
Yeah, but finance, that's the work of the finance ministry.
But the $100 million is the work of the finance ministry. But we didn't have to get him to say that.
No, that's the seed money they gave us. That is the money that they gave us. So the Ministry of Health only reported what has actually been given based on the planning or the steering committee's work. So I'm thinking that it is not really out of context that people are asking the source of finance. No, I haven't said that it's out of context.
Okay.
All I'm saying is that let's wait for the finance ministry or the finance minister to obviously detail that to the Ghanaian population, so that if we have questions, because now if you ask me questions about maybe the 100 million, how it is secured and all those, I will not be able to tell you. But the finance ministry will be able to tell you. Like I said, I'm speaking from a health professional's point of view. I work for the Ghana Health Service, and I'm a professional. You see, so I am analyzing it from the fact that will this hospital serve the need of the various communities or the districts that actually do need them? And the answer to me, Dr. Anaba did not deny. My colleague from the NGO for Health did not deny. They said, yes, it is. All they are saying is that they think it is too ambitious for government. So now let's wait for the finance minister to detail the source of finance. But to me, my main issue is if these hospitals are able to come in line from 12 to 18 months, I will actually be extremely excited. And I think that whatever it takes for we as the training institutions to obviously operational, not the training, Ghana Health Service and the ministry to operationalize this, we will certainly do that.
Look, good interventions there, though. Let's get the views of Bright and yeah, let's hear from Bright first. He's with the Coalition of NGOs in Health, and then we'll get a reaction from
yes,
Dr.
Chanchayini, well. Thank you very much.
Right.
And then thanks, Doc, a lot for the response. But right. I think he sided with us perfectly, that all of us are saying the same thing, that yes, the project is good, is actually going to meet the needs of the country, but the funding sources is not well shown. I don't see the reason why we have to belabor this point over and over again. For us, the commitment that the government has shown by demonstration is coming out with $100 million, translating into some 600 million Ghana cedis. This will be able to build not more than 6 of these facilities. So if we make our projections, we are of the view that government will not be able to build not more than 20 of these district facilities, even before the end of his tenure in office, and not just 18 months. So the issues that we are saying, we are saying it with facts and then making empirical projections. That what evidence are we able to show concerning our annual revenue generated? And this funding or our annual revenue is going to cater for all the projects within other sectors, including other outstanding projects, even within the health sector.
I see. We
are still confronted with COVID, and then we need a lot of money to procure the rest of the vaccines, the over 17 million vaccines, to continue vaccinating Ghanaians.
Right, kindly hold on for me briefly. I'll get you to hold on briefly, because we've just been joined by Information Minister Kojo Oppong-Nkrumah. There's an intervention he wishes to make as far as this issue of funding and a few other things we've mentioned on the show are concerned. And so we've been privileged that he's taking some time off to join us today. Honorable, good evening. Thanks for joining us.
Good evening, Mr. Boateng, and good evening to your panelists.
Right. So the whole issue, we've had Dr. Da Costa take us through a number of things. We've been very, very happy about it. But one issue which appears to be lingering, even after all the explanations he's given, has to do with the issue of funding for these facilities. Can you elaborate some more on it? We know there's some $100 million seed money which has been set aside, but a lot more questions are being asked of how we are going to raise the other funds to ensure that we're able to get these facilities up and running.
Thanks. I think, first of all, it's a healthy point that all of us are interested in this project and are asking questions and are providing questions. One of the first things we must understand that is that this conversation will not be completed in one day. I think right from last week Sunday, when we broke the news, we made the point that this conversation will not be completed in one day. We'll be bringing various ministers who are handling various parts of this exercise to the podium to have an opportunity to speak, be interrogated on it. The fact that any one of them has not taken the podium today does not mean he's now going to think about the start. The government is not ready for it. We spent over a year working at the project implementation committee level, detailing all of these things out. So I think one of the first things we should correct as an impression is that the fact that the minister has not come to the podium today does not mean he's not going to think about it. Now, too specifically, we mentioned at our very first briefing that this is a Government of Ghana project, the first part of it, and we were specific that the 101 district hospitals plus the 3 specialized hospitals are going to be Government of Ghana funded. That's a guess. Government of Ghana has a number of funding channels for its buckets. You have direct tax revenue, you have indirect tax revenue, you have the annual budget funding amount, you have non-taxable revenue that develops. But it is a Government of Ghana funded project. We also said that the 7 regional hospitals will not be Government of Ghana funded. They will be procured through an EPC arrangement. So I think, again, we've been quite clear on that one. Now, for the Government of Ghana funding, we went further to explain that already this year, $100 million, which is about 600 million cedis, has been made available, has been paid up to GIF to be funded. That money has already been paid up to GIF as commenced funding, and that it will take about 8 cycles to complete payment for this about 1.7 billion, and that in the next 2 budget cycles, the allocations that add up to the balance of 1.6 will be made. I think we've been quite clear with that. Now, there may be further questions about which of GOG's funding channels. Is it AB? The directors, are you going to introduce a special levy or whatever? All of those ones will be answered by the minister responsible for finance. So I play to all of you guys for the conversation. But I think the impression ought not doesn't know where the source of funding is coming. Okay. Go to an elaborate project. For example, people are asking today, where is the list of the ATDs? All of that is available. We'll bring the infrastructure team there, region by region. They'll give the full breakout. We've announced that there's a website that is going to go up having all of these details in it. Even the drawings of what one hospital looks like. And why some hospitals will be 60 beds, some will be 80, some will be 100. All of that has not been put out. It doesn't mean it's not available. But we're going to go through an extensive 18-month journey. We don't need to crash it all at the beginning. And the fact that those people haven't taken the podium does not mean that government has not.
Okay, two questions.
I guess those are the key things I would like to
yes, two questions. So one thing I picked from you is that yes, there's going to be a number of sessions which will give out a bit more information as to how all of these is going to roll out and the like. Any idea when the finance minister, for instance, will be giving out some additional information to the public?
In the coming week, we have scheduled the minister responsible for finance. We have also scheduled the team from the subcommittee of the project implementation committee that is now going to give the breakdown of region by region. For example, how many hospitals are in the Greater Accra region? How many hospitals are in that region? In Accra region, or in some regions, we don't have the full complement of hospitals because there are regions in which, as of now, you can't find 15 acres of land. We explained all of this at the Sunday briefing. So out of the 101 district hospitals, 88 are the ones that are ready to go now. There's a difference of 20 plus that they have to complete the redesigning of the hospital, because you won't get 15 acres of land lying in some of the districts in Accra unencumbered and recycled. You'll probably get 6 acres. So you have to redesign the building upwards, or the whole project upwards.
Okay, and all of that may even affect the timelines we've already put out, right?
Not exactly. We were quite clear that when every project commences, each project is expected to take 12 months to finish its civil works, and then about an additional 6 months to install and test and hand over the equipment is there. So if it takes them 3 months to commence there, 12 months from the date of commencement is what we are counting. We have not said that all the projects are going to be complete 18 months at the moment. We're quite detailed in the in the position that we put out there. So but it's good that people ask questions.
Right.
So we'll continue to provide this kind of.
Okay. Because of time, we'll just end with this last one though. The Coalition of NGOs in Health is saying that they have done their own research. They have put a few things together and done some projections. And based on that, it does not appear that government can build more than 20 of these facilities before the end of the tenure of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. How do we reconcile that with government's own projections?
Well, first of all, that is their projection. I'm sure that there are some underlying assumptions. It will be good for them to put those underlying assumptions forward. For example, I don't know if they know that we are operating in 14 zones for this project. Is that factored into their underlying assumptions? Do you know if it's factored?
I do not, but Bright is still on the line, so he'll be able to help us with that.
So I think that it will be good to interrogate whatever underlying assumptions that they have. Be that as it may, I would take a risk or caution. We have to be very, because this is one of the biggest projects that we have ever embarked on as a country. There are so many risk factors, so many things that could go wrong and make it impossible for us to meet our target.
Okay.
So anybody who is raising risk factors should be welcome, so that we can examine those risk factors and see how to mitigate them.
Indeed. All right. Minister, thank you so much for your time. That's Kojo Okonkwo, my Information Minister, joining us with some clarity there. I'll take just a minute from Brightemi Sanyako as to all of the things we've heard so far. And then also I'll take another minute from Dr. Anaba, because we've actually run out of time. So, let's say you heard the minister give some clarifications there and also suggest that, well, your projections may be a bit problematic, particularly if you've not factored in a lot more of the things they have factored in. Your response to that, please.
Yes, I believe that's the reason why we're asking all these questions. Right. There are certain things that they might have factored in that we are not aware of. Right. And we don't expect that as civil society organizations, we might know all the things that they know. That is why we are asking questions, that we get clarity on how funding is going to be However, if you listen to how he even made the analysis now, if the whole project is about 1.2 billion and they have given out $100 million now, just for the first budget cycle, we have 2 budget cycles left. And the assumption and the projections are that they will be able to raise the same seed, $100 million per every year. So the questions are that the remaining over 800 million or 900 million, those are where we are asking the questions. Okay. If it is available,
so he's saying that now the finance minister will in the coming weeks, I think maybe next week or the week after, he will address the nation, most likely through one of the.
So yes, we will continue to wait for that.
We'll get all of those details. Okay. Yes. All right. Thank you, Dr. Anaba. In 1 minute, please, your reactions to everything we've heard so far. Okay, I think we may have lost Dr. Anaba there. Oh, Doc, okay, you are still on, but I think you may have to unmute so we can hear you. Yeah.
Yes.
Great.
In 1 minute, please. Dr. Kosa, I'm very sorry. I don't express my views and professional issues based on politics.
Right.
I express the truth, and that is the truth. What I want to say is that, yes, it's a good initiative the government has got, but we think that it is too much to expect from him because of past history.
Right.
The other issue is that I am worried about the human resource available, especially medical staff, nursing staff, laboratory staff, radiology staff, who will be there to man this, because the backlog of this critical staff with the ministry, I can tell you, it's not up to 2,000. And even every year, if we are training 2,000 people, remember about 1,000 people are retired. So I think they need to work alongside training the human resource while they are building the hospital. But if they can do it, I will into their projects.
Anaba is the former medical director at the Ridge Hospital. Doc, thank you for those views there. I would also like to take the opportunity to thank Dr. Boatie Dacosta, the Director of Health Promotions at the Ghana Health Service, as well as Brightemi Senyako, the National Chairman for the Coalition of NGOs in Health. Really grateful that you took time off to join us with those views. Somewhere in between the entire process, though, we're grateful enough to also have the Information Minister join us and clarify a lot of the things that were happening on the show. So, Mr. Minister, thank you so much, Kojo Ponkroma, for that clarification. But that's how we wrap up today's show. Sincere apologies. We've not been able to allow you to phone in the last 2 shows. That is this one and then the one on Tuesday. But from next week, God willing, we'll open the phone lines and allow you to share your views as we often do. But that's how we end today's show. My name is Kwabena Chencheni Boateng. It's been another exciting, very educative edition of Opposing Views right here on MX24 television. Stay tuned, because at 6:30 p.m. Marie-France Forjo is on standby with some amazing things. There's a lot happening in Ghana now as we speak. There's a lot happening in the news. She has all those details and she'll be bringing them to you in the next 30 minutes. For now, though, I'll see you on Tuesday.
The news that matters the most is the news that hits closest to home. Politics, business, lifestyle, entertainment, whatever. Once it breaks, we are there.
If it touches you, your family, your community, or your safety, we've got it covered.
You need to know what is happening in and around Ghana and on the international scene.
This is MX24 News.
Hello guys, and welcome to Home Fit. Home Fit is a fitness show designed to take care of all your fitness needs. I'm your trainer Brad, and I will be taking you through a series of workouts. After a great workout, let's talk nutrition.
shut up and bend over, eh? And let your backer do the talking over. So back up, back up.
You guys are doing beyond what a regular would do, and I'm attracted more to that. I like people who want to do something different, you know, not the usual TV.
What's up, guys? Your boy Kitty, aka the Golden